Welcome to the April 28th, oh, no, the May 5th meeting. May 5th meeting of the Town Council's Financial Oversight Committee. We are meeting, it is a hybrid meeting, and we are meeting in the Media B meeting room of the Council on Aging. The first item on our agenda is to review and approve the minutes of April 28th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 28th as amended. We did some amendments over the email, correct?
Yes.
As amended.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I think we have to
Oh,
roll.
yes.
We have to
Roll call.
roll. Jim?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also.
I make a motion this time to amend the agenda and move up item number 6, discussion with the fire chief regarding the fire department and revolving fund budgets at this time.
I would just, as part of discuss, well, I'll second.
Okay.
But then I have a question.
Discussion.
Since the police chief is here as well, would it make sense
Yes.
just to move them both up?
Both up, so,
And then we'll just start. the rest.
so let me withdraw my recommendation. Amended also to include the discussion with the police chief regarding the police budget.
Which is item number 7.
It's number 7.
I would second that amended motion.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, Rich?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Yes.
Jim? And I'm a yes. Okay, chief, you're on. Come on up and have a seat.
Oops, we got your seat all, we got the hot seat all kind of,
It's all out of your way.
Do you know
It's not a very good
if
spot for
John
you 'cause you
Starks
can't
has been
straighten
able
your
to
leg
join
out.
us?
I'm good. No, she can't. She emailed us.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
Well, she said she might.
Yeah.
by
It's
Zoom, but-
emailed later to say that that's not gonna happen.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. I think all of us have read your budget as submitted, chief. And I'll open, if you want to tell us anything about it beforehand, and then we'll open it to questions.
I'll start, I guess I'll start with the fire side. Keeping everything kind of status quo. I did move one firefighter back from the ambulance, and I moved 2 firefighters from the fire side into the ambulance budget. That was more positional and a budget thing.
Sorry, Chief, could you say that slowly again?
Okay.
One firefighter.
I moved one firefighter from the ambulance budget and put him into the fire budget. And I moved firefighters from the fire budget and put them into the ambulance budget. Primarily because they were, they get an extra money for being coordinators for the ambulance. So I figured it just made sense putting them on the ambulance and it fit within the budget. But the fire budget, everything is relatively, stays the same. Some of the items might have gone up a bit, primarily because of inflation, what's going on in this crazy world right now. I kind of kept my fuel budget status quo because this year I'm running a little low on it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping, haven't got any real predictions from Bruce yet as far as if we need to jump it, but I think I'm going to be all right next year. Keep that the same. A couple of the big changes on the budget are, I did put again, asking for the new deputy fire chief's position. This is the 4th year that I've asked for it. It's part of the, as the department's grown to where we are now, it's just harder and harder to, as a manager, to try and do everything. And I'm the only manager level. This would be an out of union position.
Yeah.
So he would have a little more authority over what a normal shift captain has. The shift captain's still in the union. I budgeted for half a year, and the amount I budgeted is still a negotiable thing. That's with the town manager at that point. There's a draft job description for that position. Again, that's going to have to go through the town manager and myself and probably HR at that time, whenever it does go forward.
Okay.
And the other only new item on the fire, and there is a couple extra things for that position, bunker gear,
About that at the end.
and some stuff like that if it's an inside person gets the job or an outside person. But I also halved the cost for a part-time custodian for the fire station. Our role in the department's changed a lot over the years. Guys, yeah, they do the daily stuff, they do the kitchen, they do the trash, and they'll sweep the floors, but more of the in-depth stuff, it's harder for them to get involved with stripping the floors and waxing the floors like we always did. They throw the wax down, they get a call.
Yeah.
Running out the door, now you got all this, or even worse, they throw the stripper down. The guys take a lot of pride in how the station looks, but it's harder for them to do the long detailed stuff.
Okay.
So I talked to Bruce Fenny, I got that number from Bruce. Not sure if that would stay in my budget, not sure how that works because the person that actually would be working for Bruce. But I told him I was putting it in the budget now, and if it made it through, then manager Bruce and myself, and probably Steve would figure it out from there.
And that's half in the operating budget, half in the ambulance fund.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I go back to the deputy fire chief?
Yep.
I understand when you say it's non-union. You have how many captains now?
4.
4.
Yep.
And would you entertain looking outside as well, or you feel?
I guess it would be, depending on how many people were from the inside going for it.
Yeah.
Just to make it equitable, would be, I guess, the right word. I have definitely 4 qualified captains.
Mhm.
I'm not sure they all want it.
Mhm.
I know there's a couple that want it. There are a couple that are still, up in
Weighing
the
it,
air. Yeah, up in the air. Some of them might think they're too young to play that game right now, to be stuck in a outside, outside the building kind of role, so.
So let's say that the position gets funded and ultimately the candidate of choice is a current captain. Would you then elevate someone to
Yes.
that position, to that vacant position?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, that's, yeah. The way the contract's written is if that position is left vacant, and I forgot the exact time frame, it's either 60 or 90 days. I can fill it with an acting for a certain period of time,
yeah.
but then after that, it becomes a provisional position.
Yeah.
And that position pays the same rate as a captain pays. So there's no real budget savings to a certain point
Right.
doing that. And there is a process to promote within. It's a whole testing process and assessment center. And captains have to have a certain, to go for that position, they have to have a certain level of certification. Which right now is a little challenging because during COVID, the academy had shut down a lot of programs, and they're just getting back up again now, and everything's overcrowded, but they're getting there. Yeah.
So if you were to replace the captain, if it were someone inside that became deputy chief, you would then take someone in the department,
Move them up.
to the captain, and then you would backfill and hire an
I would-
additional
I would,
fire.
yes. Yeah.
So
To
the
keep- to
the
keep them-
deputy chief is an
still be-
extra position.
Yes, yep, it is an extra position. Yeah. We're currently at 6 per group, which kind of rolls into the ambulance budget. In the ambulance budget, I'm asking for the other half of the janitor, but I'm not a custodian. I'm also asking for 4 additional firefighter paramedics, funded through the ambulance fund. Currently, we're at 6. Our policy is 2 members can take permitted leave off, no matter what it is. And I backfill to 5. So if I'm at 6, 2 take off, I can backfill to 5, which is a good number, but running 2 ambulances out the door, sometimes that leaves me with one in the barn. And it's different than it was, the whole reason for going kind of the way we did. It's different than it was years ago. People aren't running back anymore. They come to work, they work their shifts, they come in for overtime details, the extra shifts. But, they have, it's not a pager anymore, it's an app on your phone, it goes off, and a lot of them there's family obligations, there's
Right.
second jobs
Right.
and stuff like that.
They
So coming
can't.
back, so the purpose of the 7th person would keep us at a minimum of at least 2 available in the station to start the process. We've been fortunate, we haven't been caught, shorthanded. We've had a couple terrible fires lately, and we've been fortunate enough where staffing was premium at that time, and callback was even better. So,
Chief, the title you gave them is paramedics?
so our goal is to hire firefighter paramedic, or hire paramedics. We train them to firefighters.
Okay,
If somebody leaves from another department that's already a firefighter that from the academy, that's a home run for us.
okay.
It's hard right now, like the last couple of hires I hired were EMTs. They go through the process. They have to become, as part of the contract and part of their employment agreement, they have to become a medic within a certain period of time.
Okay,
And then they have to stay with us because it's part of, part of the deal for a while. We're like any other profession. Everybody's struggling to get trained teachers to accountants.
yeah, we've heard that from DPW, from school
Yeah.
departments, same thing,
You know,
about the vacancies.
I get plenty of applications, but it's, some of them just, their dream is to be a firefighter and they don't know the process and they're not even halfway there yet as far as EMT. I won't hire anybody that's not an EMT with some experience. Because I can hire somebody that's an EMT, get them in the firefighting program, and they can at least ride that ambulance and help the paramedic. Because we're certified to operate paramedic basic level.
So my question was, just remind me, obviously a paramedic has a larger skill set and licensing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Short explanation is EMTs, 6 months training, paramedics minimum 2 years. Paramedic can push drugs. Yeah, they can cardiac monitor,
So-
all of that.
Right.
That's theirs. They can read big difference in the level of certification and training. And ongoing training throughout the years.
Of those 4 additional positions to dress out your squads,
Yep.
are any of those going to be covered by the ambulance receipts?
They all are.
They all are.
They all are.
The ambulance fund sounds like it's been a good tool. You've been able to provide additional service to the town, but at the same time, utilize it in terms of controlling both budgets.
The goal is to try and at least be a 50-50. We're not there yet. If we get these 4, we'll be a little bit closer. We'll be shy of being 50-50. But I see that it's going to happen eventually. We're just by the nature of our demographics, we are a very busy department. 3 nursing homes, 2 assisted living facilities, 1 independent living facility. Actually, they just opened that new facility behind the new building on Maple Street.
Oh, yeah, for the memory care.
Memory care, which is, it's not a big place, but it's, it's a call or 2 a week. We're running 2,300 EMS calls a year. Last year we handled 93% of the transports ourselves.
Oh, my
Well,
God,
your
I'm sorry,
vision back how many years now? I remember when we first
Right.
entered this and tried to weigh the advantages of, going head first into the deep end,
And
Yeah.
we were
Staying
going, yeah,
AMR and other contracted services.
we were going with light numbers, because
We
AMR
were,
told
but
us that, maybe 1,200 calls a year, and they were lying.
Well,
Yeah.
it's commendable what you've been able to
Yes.
do for this town.
It's been fun. It's been a challenge, and every day it's something. And that's what I enjoy. I go to work and, and the guys too. It's just, some days it's challenging when they have, 3-4 calls in a row, or 3-4 calls. Just the other day, we went to Long Meadow Mutual Aid for a brush fire, getting out of control by the country club. And wind was still blowing. It was Friday. They were gone 5 minutes. Our first ambulance call came in. We had 6 ambulance calls in 40 minutes. So if I walked in here and said I need 6 ambulances and 12 more guys per shift, we can't do that. That's impossible. We can't staff up for that. But
Yeah.
that's why we have these mutual aid agreements and arrangements and relationships with, Wilbraham, Summers, Hamden has it's not their ambulance, but it's contracted for Hamden. Their primary are first mutual aid ambulance in town. And then it kind of goes to Wilbraham and Long Meadow, depending on where it is in Summers. So it's a working system.
And if I'm, okay.
It's been a game changer for being able to grow your department and
Oh, yeah.
absorb that off of the operational budget,
Yes.
I think.
Exactly.
So as I look at this, I'm looking at the operational budget, and your increase is 0.3%, is that correct? So on page,
So I don't have that.
Eight.
Mine's a little different of a copy. Mine doesn't have.
Here's the way it shows.
oh, Steve, is that right?
I'm back, sorry, I'm like this. It's gone down 0.3.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was down.
Yeah,
So it's been reduced by 0.3.
The salary piece of it.
yeah.
Yeah. Then the,
Yeah, but I'm overall, I'm asking overall.
Overall,
Yeah.
oh, it went up 0.3. Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm
right.
asking,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that was good. Yeah. Steve, the numbers match.
thanks, Chief, Tom, that was great. I love dealing with the chief, I should mention that.
We understand that there's a possibility that the union contract is coming up.
Yes.
Is it as of June 30th, July 1st?
July 1st, it is a new contract for them.
So you-
I don't anticipate anything being settled by then. We haven't even started.
It's just early on.
Yeah,
right?
it's really early on. I would imagine, whatever's gonna happen will be the next cycle.
Yeah,
So I'm sure there's gonna be some retro involved and,
okay,
I couldn't even predict,
yeah,
you know,
no, I don't think any of us can.
No, so negotiations haven't started yet.
they have
Yeah.
not started yet,
All right,
right? And I know both sides have ideas but they haven't, nobody sat down or.
yeah. It'll
And
probably be up to the
maybe-
new town
Maybe with the new
manager.
town manager coming in.
Yeah,
You know, I know Mary's got some ideas, but
Yeah.
it'll be,
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
wish I could, but I can't.
We do too. We wish he had a crystal ball.
So is that partially why the salaries are going down for FY '23 budget?
No, because he took them out.
I took one, no,
That's some, he migrated some
Yeah,
over.
I migrated,
But you're
I
not-
put one in, migrated two out,
Right,
and actually
Right,
by
okay,
names.
but you also aren't projecting
We can't,
an increase. So
yeah,
you
I
got-
can't,
You don't have
Yeah.
that component
no,
in the budget.
I guess that's,
It's supposed to be.
bargaining in bad
Yeah,
faith.
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
that's a
Yeah.
labor
Yeah,
violation.
you can't, like, if management said to put in a 2% kicker, that's
Yeah,
that could get us all in trouble,
Right,
yeah.
Any other questions for?
I don't have any others.
we're good.
you two guys should team up with your therapy, both.
We
We've run into each other.
Yeah, we've been a couple feet apart a few times.
He looks a lot better than I do at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I'll get there. Thank you, thanks for helping me out. Really.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Pleasure.
coming in.
Have fun at PT.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I know how much fun it is, yes.
I'll be in touch, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, Chief Williams.
Rather than make you wait till the assigned time.
I appreciate
that.
Want to highlight my grays, Don. I appreciate that. Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, see everybody.
Good to see you. So
Yes,
tell us about your budget.
tell us.
Well, you've had a recent contract settlement.
Yes, and
That's
the
something new to us.
the budget is about, as you know, about an 8.5% increase over this year. So it is pretty substantial, but that is largely because of the recently settled collective bargaining agreement, which is effectively a 9% salary bump over what was budgeted for FY '22. It's 4.5% effective now, and then another 4.5% effective July 1. So that accounts for pretty much most of the increase on the personnel side. The agreement itself, I'd really like to commend Mary. I think it was a lot of work and discussion into how to settle it. The union, if I may say so, I thought our union was very reasonable and in in their reasoning given for why they didn't like the initial proposal, I understood. At least it made sense to me, even if, I didn't necessarily 100% agree with all of it. At least it made sense, and it gave us a good point to go forward from to try to figure out, okay, how can we settle this? And Town Manager McNally was exceptional in working with the council and trying to craft something that would work, and ultimately it did work. So I'm very appreciative of that. Having that settled was a big weight off of my mind.
Sure.
I have a lot of ideas and initiatives I want to move forward on, and that was really a significant thing that needed to happen to start making getting some good forward momentum on things. So that is good. But yes, it does result in a budget increase request to cover for that. On the supply side,
Well, Chief, could you?
yes, oh, sure,
Could you explain, because this is being taped,
yes.
how that works in with the lieutenant's new position? How's
Yes.
that shifting of personnel going to happen?
Yeah, so for this coming fiscal year, what's budgeted is a lieutenant's position, which has never existed in our department. As you all know, that's something I mentioned in my interview, even for the position of, there's a need for something like this. So I've been asking for this from day one. And I appreciate that it was budgeted this year for me. Unfortunately, because of the union negotiations lasting to the point they did, we couldn't move on it in this fiscal year, but now that we're settled with the next, we can. So that, as it stands, that for next year's budget, that moves an existing sergeant's salary into a lieutenant position. I'm budgeting for $135,000 for the lieutenant's position. However, that is a budgeted figure. That position will be like my position, in that it'll be a non-union negotiated contract with the town manager that will set their salary. So that $135,000 is a theoretical guess on my part based on I'm basing it on the education of potential candidates plus natural wage separation between ranks as ideal, and that's the figure I come up with. In the end, will it be that high? That'll be up to the town manager and the candidate to work that out. So that's how I came up with that figure. And yes, an existing sergeant's position is being removed from next year's budget, and its position is coming in.
And that's.
That pause is just for.
That is for 1 year, yes. And that was a sticking point with the union. That was really the main sticking point, I'd say, as to why, and that had to be addressed. And that was a very creative, I think, and generous solution that the town offered to settle it. And the union thankfully accepted it. So that sergeant position will return by that agreement.
2024?
Correct, July 1, 2024. Which I'm happy about because I really, functionally, we do really need that.
So next fiscal year, we'll be operating with 5 sergeants, but a year, 2024, we'll go back to 6.
Correct, so I won't lie to you, next year the budget's going to go up again, it's going to.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but
No,
that's
no.
all bargain, so.
Right,
Yeah, it is,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
right.
We felt very creative. We did a creative position, yeah.
To be fair to the chief and to our manager, it was the sentiment of the council that, in addition to the creative options that came into play, that there was a significant sentiment of cooperation and collaboration between the union and their willingness to try to get something in place that was reasonable for them and realistic as well. So
Yes, thank you,
that needs to be in the record.
thank you.
So, Chief, non-union, that also means non-civil service.
Correct, but those are two different things.
Right, that's what I'm
Those terms are often interchanged by people, but they're completely independent of each other.
Yeah.
You can be non-union and still be in civil service.
This is not going to be civil.
This is not going to be civil service. As part of this union agreement, which was a significant give back, which leads to some of these numbers, quite honestly. They did agree to the removal of the department from civil service as a whole. So I'm looking into language now to put in front of the council to start that process to remove the entire department out of civil service.
Wow.
So
So,
that's a significant give back by them. It's happening all across, many towns are doing it across the state, especially towns our size or smaller. But the department I worked for before I came here left right before I left. They moved out. We've seen even larger departments, much bigger than us out east, are moving out. It's
And does that pertain strictly to new hires going forward?
yeah. So the way that works is employees in their existing positions, whatever rank they're sitting at now, whether it's patrol and which in our case is only patrol or detective, patrol or sergeant are the only two actual civil service ranks we have. My position's not in civil service. They will always remain for civil service purposes and protections at that rank.
Oh.
If at any point they change ranks, so if a sergeant promoted to lieutenant, that's out of civil service. That's kind of by agreement now anyway, but more likely scenario, patrol officer is promoted to sergeant. After the department is removed from civil service, their sergeant's position is not in civil service.
so it's like a phase in then.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll be long gone before the entire department is officially out. But
Change your positions and, change your position and new
Yes.
people coming on.
yes,
I
but
commented at a council meeting not too long ago that of your full complement, which is what,
27 when we're, yep.
14 were former students, and you.
Oh,
Matt, the
really?
same for-
Well, I used to kid Chief DeLessio. I thought he was a Boy Scout leader.
Oh.
The kids were so young.
So we are, unlike a lot of my peers and departments around, we are fully staffed at the moment. We have a recruit who's graduating the academy in a little over a week. And then once he's out, and we have somebody who just started a couple weeks ago, who's already academy trained. So she's training now with us. And then once this recruit is out in a couple weeks, he'll begin his field training and we'll be at fully staffed levels, which I'm going to enjoy as long as it lasts, and do the best I can to retain the people we have.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly a challenge in these days, but East Long Meadow definitely has a different feel to it, and the department is really, I think, really knows the support that the town gives them.
Yeah. Good morale
I'm
within
counting
the
on that.
department.
I think so,
Yeah.
but maybe I'm biased, but sure, we're not perfect, and I could certainly do better at a lot of things, but I'm learning as I go.
Well, that's true of all of us.
Yes, I've never had a perfect day at work. I always say that.
I just wanted to clarify, you originally started about a 4.5% increase and a 4.5% retro, and I wasn't quite sure I followed how that worked.
So right now, the last collective bargaining agreement ended June 30th of last year. So when they came to an agreement a few weeks ago,
This is the 4.5%.
The 4.5%.
For the current fiscal year.
yes, so that was retroactive back to July 1 of 2021. So they will be receiving that retro pay, I believe, in their next paycheck. We're still working on that. And then this coming July 1 will be the next 4.5% will kick in. So on paper, that's why the salary lines all went up by about 9% here, because it's as of when we did FY '22, we didn't
have
obviously
that
have
amount
those
in there.
numbers.
Yeah, I know it's prohibited or frowned upon, but it does make budgeting kind of crappy when you can't include some kind of dollar amount to
Yeah.
account for something.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I have no further
And
questions.
the same question I asked the Chief Morissette, is it your vision to try to promote from within?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I drafted a promotional policy for us to use. One, we didn't have a promotional policy anyway, but it was even more important going outside of civil service, because at least in civil service, there are certain rules you have to follow with promotions. But going outside of civil service, it really, gives some latitude. So I felt it was important to, okay, let's, in fairness to everybody, we need to have something on paper as to this is how this process is going to work. I drafted something and presented it to the union many months ago, but before, as contract negotiations began, and I heard no pushback, no negative comments on it, so it's agreeable as far as I'm concerned, and I'm looking forward to using it for our first promotion here coming up for lieutenant, which I hope to do early in the fiscal year. And we'll see how it goes. And I left the door open to the union. I said, hey, we'll go through this process. If either side sees something that, hey, you know what, that's how it read, but it didn't really play out that way. I'm certainly open, and we'll see who the next town manager is, but I'm assuming the next town manager will be open to talking about, tweaking it as needed. But
Good.
That's good.
yes, so it's exciting times coming.
Good.
Good.
But I kind of started to answer your question, then stopped, sorry. But I put language in the policy which effectively says that all promotions come from within. I did not mention chief, only because chief is the purview of the town manager. So I'm a recipient of an outside person coming in. But every other position within the department is listed as will be promoted from within the department, so.
Very good. I think that's good
Excellent.
policy.
It is.
Yeah.
If I may just do a little bit aside, I had the experience of touring the police station. I think that's your next big
Yeah.
presentation. I will be frank, as a citizen, I was appalled. It's,
Yeah, I'm sad I missed that.
yeah, I meant to mention it also to Chief Morissette. Those two buildings are woefully under what's the looking
We've
for?
totally
Size.
outgrown them. and they're-
Outgrown
and
them,
they're
yes,
out
thank
of-
you, yeah.
The police department especially is
Oh,
just.
they can't even drink the water.
Yeah, you can't drink the water. It's a challenge. And they keep their heads high despite that environment, but yes, I think they deserve better, quite frankly. With the understanding that the taxpayers obviously have a say in this. But I'm really hoping that we can address that.
Yeah.
And I'm always happy to show anybody who wants to see the building.
Someday I'd like to
The
go.
condition.
And
I promise I won't make things dirty or worse. Surprise visit me and you'll just see it as it is.
Okay.
Do you envision when that time shows itself, a safety complex versus a police and a fire?
I would prefer that.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of
Well, it makes
sense.
a lot of building sense,
I-
too.
I actually recently attended a conference with a design firm that does, they do both fire and police, but they really focus on complexes. And I heard about a lot of the benefits of doing both. I think it makes, yes, it has a certain cost tag in the beginning. That's maybe higher than dealing with one or the other, but I think the long-term savings present themselves as
Is
quite
that what
obvious.
Wilbraham did, or I'm trying to picture
No.
the buildings that they put up
I
there?
know Sturbridge, I
They're
think,
side by
has a
side, but they're
safety
two
complex.
different.
They're two different.
Ludlow has one, but they've had it for some time.
Yeah, Ludlow's has been around, I
Yeah.
think, since like the 90s maybe, or, so, yes, that's what I'm hoping for, but I'll take what I can get.
Thank you, Chief.
Well, it's something that will be considered, I'm sure, if you
I-
express the need. Because I know we've had one study there a couple of years ago. Never really did get the
I
results
think we
of
thought we
it.
were gonna get some funding, right?
Yeah.
There was a community development grant, am I saying that right, Steve? Back,
Is that what a community compact thing?
um,
Probably development, I think it's.
It would- yeah, for 1.1 million, but those grants always are, they're there, but the governor has to
Yeah.
release the money and actually fund them.
Oh,
Yes.
And is that how you remember it, Don? Yeah.
I do
They
too.
usually go with,
Yeah.
Have
Right.
everything in place so that they don't give you, you can still do it.
Yeah,
The design study that happened, which was actually ongoing when I started working
Right,
there.
that
It
was
kind
already in
of,
place.
it paused due to COVID, but then we resumed it. That's wrapped up, and I think some of you have seen those results. And that was really a study that was about renovating and expanding the current building.
Yeah.
Certainly an option. I will not say that that's the best option. I don't think it is.
I think that would be as good a use of our money.
It was
Yeah.
important though to look at that as an option though, and I'm glad the town spent the money to do that, just to rule it in or rule it out.
Yeah.
And certainly, I think our building can be used by the town for other things if ultimately we move out of it. So
Yeah, probably.
I think there's other town departments that, as challenging as that building is, would still benefit from its use. Any other questions?
I don't have any other.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much,
Nice
Chief.
to see
Thank you
you.
for the explanation.
It is.
Nice to do this in person too.
Yes.
It is, yes.
Pretty much about the time we allocated, just a different portion of the schedule.
So now we are back to item number 2, which was the discussion or reaction or thoughts regarding the proposed school budget.
So I'll start if you like. I guess I didn't see anything crazy with the budget. And most of the increase is centered around, getting those positions back. And particularly the 2 positions with the shifting from the ESSER funds to the town operating budget. And I was kind of toying with the idea, well, could you do that 1 position per year? Because there are ESSER funds available next year as well,
Right.
and lower the increase from the schools. But as I kind of think about it, I'm sitting here listening to the fire and police, and next year we're going to have 6 months of a deputy chief's position that's going to be new for us, that we're going to have to absorb. And we're going to have to absorb an additional sergeant salary next year in that budget as well. So I'm almost thinking we're better off going along with the schools, moving the 2 positions into the operating budget, because with that, is it the ARPA funds? We have,
Using.
we're able to absorb, we're not using the
Right.
same amount of money in our operating budget for capital. We're better able to absorb it. So overall, I guess I would say I'm okay. I don't have any major changes to recommend.
I had one thought that I don't have an answer to, so I'll put it out here. Back when we first started, there was a discussion about the move of one of their, well, I believe the individual was a data specialist for the school department.
Right,
And that, I think it's a female.
it is.
She was moved under Ryan Quimby's
Right.
umbrella and actually works for IT. And so his budget reflects that.
It's an increase of some 80.
Yeah, it's just they
$1,000.
migrated it.
Yes.
So maybe, I don't know, Steve, if you can shed light on that. So if, Does that-
Is
yeah,
there a reduction in the school budget?
is there an $80,000 reduction in the original base of the school department before they asked for what they're asking?
I have to check, but I believe last year's budget that moved out that, didn't he?
So it was over in Ryan's last year?
He was transferred to Ryan.
Right.
And,
In this current year?
current fiscal.
In 22, right.
And I believe it was, but I have to check.
Is it something we could just check with though, just to make sure? Because if it were a transfer for this coming year, it would be a fair question to
Right.
check.
Yeah.
I know that the council voted to move money out of school to.
To IT, right.
IT, so it was originally in the school budget,
Right.
so. But I guess reduced by that amount already.
And
Yeah,
so
they
is there
kind of
based
mentioned like it was new for
It
fiscal
would be a new
23.
move for July.
Right, but the original salary was taken from the school budget, transfer over.
So, as far as your papers are concerned,
Yeah.
that 80,000 decrease had been, accounted
Now
for.
that- But I'll double check
Yeah.
this, verify. I don't know.
One of the questions I have for the school budget is, can we anticipate any turnbacks? having looked at the sheet and what their balances were in that third quarter, where they were encumbering money, I was wondering if there might be a substantial turn back. And didn't we usually get Medicare?
We get Medicaid reimbursement.
Reimbursement.
Yes.
You
I
get-
think this year they're estimating around 140.
Yeah, but that goes to the town, which,
That goes to the town.
see, I always argue at that point, that all
It
they,
comes from the
school,
It goes to the town.
town.
We were on the other side,
Side,
we
yeah.
fought for it.
Yeah.
Well, if I may react to what you said, as chair of the school committee, Chris, for many years,
Yes.
we always gave back money to the town.
Yeah.
I mean, went from very little to sometimes substantial.
Last year it was
Right.
close to 400,000.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, but it'd be nice, I mean,
Yeah.
Yes, it would be nice to get some money back, simply for the calculation of free cash for the
right,
for
right,
the
so,
ensuing year.
And Rich, since I've been on the whopping 2 years,
Yeah.
they have turned back each year.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
That's right, it varies, but. we can
Okay,
get
so
an
we
idea
can,
of what's-
we can fairly assume that that's gonna happen again, not knowing what it might be, but grateful for anything they do.
Right.
but I do think there exists that spirit of camaraderie between the department heads and that, that sense of, well, we're getting into June now, so whatever's there and that can't be legitimately argued for needs to go back.
Okay.
So I don't think I don't get the sense that anybody's looking to like, quick, buy up everything you can so
Yeah.
I can zero out my budget.
Yeah, that used to
A
be.
good sense of cooperation.
Yes, and when you say the word cooperation, I am very pleased with the way the school department and the administration
Yes.
and the school committee has provided us with the information we need. They certainly answered all my questions last week, so I agree with Jim.
No.
Nothing has jumped out at me.
I would echo that. It was nice to hear, not that we haven't in the past, but there was a palpable sense that they recognize that they want to try to restore bit by bit from what they've lost, as the town side does.
Yes,
But they also recognize that we're just one other person at the table. We know that, yes, they're 50% of the whole budget, but we're still only one department at the table.
yeah.
You know what I felt, I hope this isn't a reach, is the themes they were talking about mirrored almost exactly the DPW's themes. Uncontrollable costs. Now, for the DPW, it's easy for us to see that because it's, utilities and construction costs and gas. But for the school, I heard that mental health theme, it almost seemed like the same thing. They can't fill vacancies, it sounded like the same thing. So yeah, I feel the same way about the school budget. I thought that they were cooperative about the big picture of the town. And at the same time, I'm really trying to emphasize to us that mental health theme that's really difficult for them.
As a non-educator and not having, any real relationship with schools, I'm just overwhelmed at how much more intensely
Yes.
the students have to be supported.
Yeah.
There's so many more people and adjustment counselors and,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it
is a-
It's,
stuns me.
yeah.
So that you have so many more people, even if you don't have any more students, you got more people.
More
working with them.
things out there that are intangible,
Yeah.
but come with very big price tags.
Yeah.
And then, as Rich and I were saying, after we said we're happily retired, because I don't know that that's just I can't imagine being a school principal today and,
Well,
it's
Dealing.
And I
Dealing with
was
all that,
kind of
but-
appalled at the possibility mentioned that the state would try to redo the curriculum just as people were coming back from
there'll be
COVID
pushback
and
on
coming
that.
back. I mean, that just seems like idiotic
Yeah.
to
And we also have to keep in mind that, I mean, we see it and we're sitting on the outside though, now. But the current teachers are on that front line every single day and they're struggling with all of these new issues that are the side effects of the pandemic over 2+ years.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to support them too, which is why
Yes.
that ESSER 3 grant
Yeah.
is there. And strategically, I'm happy to hear that the schools are holding that money
Yeah.
for that anticipation of we need to get them more training, not even in curriculum. How do you deal with children who have these social emotional impacts when they have a meltdown in your classroom? How does that affect what you can do for that child? How does it affect the other 25?
I was just gonna say,
Just, there's so many things there, so many things.
yeah,
So Dawn is our newest member, so all of this is fresh to her.
yes.
So I don't know specifically what her reaction is and will be. So we may either, I guess, I don't know whether it's kosher to reach out to her prior to the next meeting, or we just have her,
Oh, we can
give
just,
us her thoughts
She-
next
I
meeting.
think we can bring it up for the next meeting.
Right, and we can.
As we
Just to
think
make
about
sure
it.
if she has,
She
if she
did
has
allude in
something
her
else.
email when
Yeah.
she said she wasn't well enough to attend,
Yeah.
that she did have some questions.
Yes, she did. I saw the first one,
Yeah.
not the second one.
Well, that came in late though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all
You
right,
know,
well then,
since she wasn't able to attend, and if she does have questions, I wonder, should we ask her to maybe send them to you or me,
Yeah.
Chris, so that we can forward them to the
yeah. you want me to
school? Because the
drive her?
time is now starting to get
Yeah.
We're
close.
getting close.
Yes, yeah, we've got 2 more meetings after today's meeting.
So if we wanted to talk about them next meeting, it might be a good
Okay.
thing to be able to send them.
Anticipate
to
what
them.
they are, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll send her an email.
Okay, great.
You want to move on to number 3
Sure.
then?
Sure.
The school committee stipend, which they kind of alluded to at the end of the meeting, was like, we're really here for the kids, you know? But they were asking for a 25% increase, which I think it's a 25% increase. Last year, I know we voted an increase, but the town council chose
Yes.
chose to reduce it. I
Chose
did,
to cut it out
I
completely.
don't think my recollection is that we chose to let it remain as is.
Yes,
So there was
yes.
no
yeah.
increase. The previous year, there was a slight bump up.
Yes, there was. I tried, I played with the number a little bit at 2.5%, which I thought was kind of not good enough. So I went to 5.9%, and it comes to $9,000, which is a $500 increase on the whole amount for them to recalculate any way they wanted to.
So I think I raised this last year. It just seems to me that these stipends for the committees, the boards or whatnot, it seems like it would be better if it were done all at one time and looked at kind of as in a totality, so that if there needs to be adjustments to town council stipends or school committee stipends or whatnot, it'd be done kind of as
Kinda like
part
when
of
how we
an
deal
annual
with
review
licensing
or a
fees.
biannual
Right,
review or something,
right.
rather than like each.
But everybody comes and makes
Yeah,
their
'cause
sales
it-
pitch.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
think I want to listen to you, Jim,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
remember the council saying they were going to study that.
Yes, right.
And,
My understand, not to overtalk you, but
yeah,
I'm hearing from another council colleague that Ralph Page is starting to take the initiative to write a bylaw about that we can react to at the council level.
Ah.
But that's just from, I haven't talked to Ralph myself.
okay,
It wouldn't surprise me that he's doing it because we're aware that was a little loose end out there.
yeah.
It needs some addressing.
Yeah, I know that before the charter arrived and the first town manager, the stipends had been all over the place. Because some were, you know, if they were elected people versus appointed people, there
Right.
was a difference in the stipend. And I kind of agree with that. You know, I don't know, I think we're probably better off not approaching this at all and letting the council do their work and see where they want to go with it. And just,
I'd be happy to reach out to Mr. Page
Yeah.
and see what is it on and what his timeline is to bringing it to the council.
okay,
Because right now, as the way it stands, if we didn't change the budget, it would be presented to the town council as a 25% increase in the stipend. I don't know if the town council will go with
I
that.
can't predict that either, right?
Yeah.
And my own feeling would be, it'd be better to say, hold it where it is and recommend that
And then
they're-
let us do our study
do it.
and then
Yes.
you can get it retro.
do an assessment of all of them, because
Right,
it does make sense to me that from time to time, these stipends need to be adjusted.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I'm just more, instead of one at a time, doing it
We,
together.
we just did something similar with that as it relates to all fees in town. And, well, fees for like if you need a copy of a birth certificate or a death
Yeah,
certificate.
Yeah.
Dog license, any of that, as well as the alcohol licensing fees to stabilize them. And so the bylaw says that these are the fees and adjustments will be made and as necessary. But
Okay.
the same with this, it probably should be, and I think that was Ralph's motivation for starting that work.
Yeah.
Let's do this with all of our boards and commissions
Yeah.
and see if we can standardize some language.
Yeah.
So that's a fair response right now. It's getting addressed, but it'll be beyond July 1st.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be out there and we'll
So
deal with
kind
it.
of a pain in the butt kind of part of it is that this would be a budget that we would then differ from the town manager's submitted budget.
That's the only point.
But
It might be the,
it differ, but it's, to me, the answer is pending.
yeah.
Not, no,
But I mean,
we
when
want this, we
when
want
submit
that.
our recommendations,
Yeah,
if we
it
say, let's keep it flat, we'll have to
'Cause what's the
show
breakdown?
a decrease of 125 from the
Right.
town manager's
Oh, I see, yeah.
submitted budget.
Yeah.
But, if that's the only, if that's one of the few changes we have,
Yeah. It's a small one.
yeah.
And we'll talk more about that 21, 25 than we do the 33 million.
Right, I know.
So the general consensus is that I have a feeling. Does anybody want to make a motion
I
to
would,
that
I would,
regard, or
I
do you
would
just want to?
move to, for our purposes, that the committee would recommend no increase in the elected salary school committee 5112 budget for fiscal year '23, with the understanding that we would recommend to town council that an overall study be done of all the paid positions in town and do it in a comprehensive manner.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? When you say all paid positions, do you want to, some of them are considered stipends.
Stipends for
They're not
all
really-
boards and
Yes,
commissions.
Stipends, do you want to correct
Yes,
that?
I'll
we'll amend it
adjust
to
my
read
amendment
stipend.
to say stipends for boards and commissions.
Okay. We're all set on that. We have general consensus on that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, we got a motion. Did we want to?
Well, we have to actually take a vote.
Yes.
Is there a second, I guess, number one?
Chris seconded it, I thought.
You seconded?
I thought you seconded it.
I'll second it. Okay. All those in
Yes.
favor?
Yes.
Jim, Kathy,
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Yes.
Number 4 is discuss reactions or thoughts regarding the town manager's controlled budgets. I thought they were all pretty well explained myself.
I was very impressed with her depth of knowledge.
Yeah.
My, she really has a fantastic hold in this town. She knows.
Yeah. I was only disappointed that she told me so nicely no on the.
She did it nicely.
She did it. That's what I said to her.
On putting back 35,000.
Oh, yes.
And town manager's
Did
budget.
anyone hear whether the Community Preservation Committee voted to fund?
They're meeting tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't say they were pretty controlled budgets where there was increases. There were pretty valid explanations of why, and most of them were under some control. So I didn't really have any glaring points to argue with.
I don't either, and again, it's another illustration of trying to return to a different normal or a new normal by reinstating and, incrementally, positions that were lost or furloughed or just couldn't be filled for some time.
Yes,
And the growing need of the
Right.
municipality,
Yeah,
the complexity of municipal government and all of the workforce needs it puts on any town.
Yeah,
well, the HR requirements,
Oh,
it kind
yeah.
of reminds me of, the school having more intense issues to
Mhm.
deal with for kids. There's more to deal with HR. uh, So I didn't have
No,
anything
No,
I
specific.
didn't have any argument.
I didn't
but she answered all our questions.
she sure did. Yeah,
I mean, theoretically, we could push back on a few things, but I think, as she pointed out, I think it's a fair trade-off. This is the time to be able to get them in because we can absorb it thanks to the ARPA funds.
Mhm.
And it's not like any of them are not needed.
yeah, these are projects that would wait a long time.
Right.
To be addressed. So to have that money at our disposal, and my theory would be, use it, you don't want to lose it. So,
Just,
agreed. Are we good on number 4 then?
yeah, I just want to add one thing. When we mentioned after we talked to the town manager, we had 3 other departments we thought we might invite in: the recreation department, the collector treasurer, and human resources, if needed. But I thought she answered all of our
I
questions.
think she
did
did a
too.
pretty
Yeah,
decent.
so I don't think we really,
Correct.
I
I
would
would
agree.
agree.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, number 5, we wanted to review the updated town manager's
Right.
budget, including sources and uses spreadsheet.
Should we invite Steve up?
Because
Yeah,
now
Steve
we
should come up.
we have a new,
Take a seat, Steve.
Sounds good.
Too bad.
we have a new levy amount.
The opposite, it's just the adjustments that go with the.
This one's 428, right?
Yes.
1979.
Yep.
Um, Did you say you had further adjustments?
No, it's
No.
largely taking out the capital. and
Okay.
That's why I went.
I have one concern about it all. And it's the increase in the residential values. Because if you take 6% of last year's residential values, there's an increase in value of over 111 million. Leave it to the old assessor to look at that.
Oh, it's valid. I think I'd say, the only I'd caveat any of this with, I talked to Diane and she said she felt comfortable with
Yeah.
that piece. So I'm like, Diane knows a lot more about it than I do. So I went with that. But also, it's part of the revenue side and there is still, that's always ambiguous until the state sets it.
True.
Simple example, I think, we estimated we'd get about 190 in meals tax in '22. Right now, we're at 259. So, there's other things that will play into this to
Yeah,
make it up. I would, if I thought that it was way off base, I would talk to Diane a little bit more, but Diane, like I said, she does know her stuff. And
Yeah.
with that, she made a point of telling me too, of saying, this is a residential piece, Steve, and I'm based on last year, and we expect it to go along the same.
yeah,
She was comfortable with that.
okay. 'cause,
Now, will it play out? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it could go higher, it could, you know, who knows?
yeah, it'll definitely alter our projection on the tax
Yes.
rate, that's for sure. Um,
And that's,
So
you
I
know,
just want everybody to be mindful of that fact.
and when we do the budgets every year, like I said, I don't know who created this model way back when, but they're saying do your expenditures. Oh, by the way, go halfway through the year, then we'll let you know if you have your revenue. Oh, and by the way, you can't have expenditures more than your revenue. So go have fun, kids.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of, we're mindful of that, and that's one of the things, like when I do estimate local receipts, I tend to go, even though it may look like it's going up, go lower. Like if you, again, I use the meals because it's the easiest one. Project out over 4 quarters, right? For 22, we're gonna be about 345,000.
Yeah,
I'm estimating 300 because it's.
Just-
Yeah.
And
yeah,
the world being the way it is today, at the time, I'm like, oh, we're gonna be well below that. Then inflation shot through the roof and I'm going, okay, maybe, maybe now. And so we monitor it closely to make sure that we're in we keep close to what we're estimating or figure a way to adapt to it.
yeah. So it looks as though we'd be leaving some room between the maximum levy and our actual levy.
Yes.
Which is good.
Yes.
It's about 3 million.
Yeah,
2.17.
the 2.3. So with this
Is
new,
that a different?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's
I'm looking
fund
at your
sources.
sheet.
I'm looking at the first page on
We're
this.
down here.
There's room between the maximum levy and our levy, right? Yeah.
Yes,
All right, so what's the difference between those two?
I have
The max levy is,
the 2.3,
right on
I
the,
think.
2.3 million.
2.8, 2.77?
Oh,
the flat valuation is
that's the levy
2.3.
gap.
Yeah, the
Okay,
levy gap.
2.7, I'm sorry.
This is all ours. This is
So,
a combination.
With
of
this,
everything.
with this new sheet, where the
So.
tax rate's actually going down 50 cents.
50 cents, yes.
That's good. It's good. It may go down more with the higher value then again.
Right, and if it stays, even if it stays consistent at 50 cents, when compare it with over the last 2 years, it's $1.27 or since.
Who's gonna argue with that? And
Yeah,
if we're able to do all the things we're saying we recommend to do, and the rate goes down,
yeah.
and
And don't
yes,
forget,
everybody gets ARPA money, but we are
personnel,
taking giant steps forward here,
Right.
and the
We are.
tax bills are coming.
the
You said, might even go
other,
more down with what, the higher, what,
The higher the
No,
value.
exactly.
this way, I'm sorry, I missed the word, okay.
I'm sorry.
The value.
I know, I'm just doing.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, there is, if you think about it, with the staff are reinstating, as you said,
Reinstating,
the capital
Steve just
plan
said we didn't
projects.
cut one service. Didn't cut one service. We're reinstating. We're gonna be able to do 19 capital projects at $0
Yeah.
from East Long Meadow,
Yeah.
give or take.
Mhm.
No reductions, you said, right?
Right, and a potential for 50 cents and maybe a little more based on how the
Revaluation
receipts
goes.
and the valuation flush out.
Well, motion to adjourn now?
I mean, that's remarkable,
yeah.
that's remarkable.
Good on the
Yeah, especially
estimated
This is
time.
remarkable.
Yeah.
That's good.
What I wanted to do though is, there's a couple of things. Let's see. There's an exhibit that we usually use. Let's see, I thought I made copies so we could talk about it. No, it's what we used to use to present, as part of our presentation with the, kind of the bottom of that first page.
yeah. I don't. You can send me. I think
Yeah,
you sent me
I'll send you-
And I'll mark it. I'll take the one
Yeah.
and mark it.
This is what we used to use to, when we present it to rather than that's such a small thing.
What I'll do is I'll update the.
Yes, so that we, this will be the projection of the mill rate.
Yeah.
And then our analysis of the reserves balance, so that we can, keep doing that double check of where we stand in relation to
When
our revenues.
when you talk about our balances, I'm thinking of the OPEB trust fund and how Chicopee, what is it?
Haven't
Oh,
started.
my God.
Yes, 263 million, something like
Well,
that,
people-
liability, and not a cent put aside.
People have said, we have it's large, we're on $56 million OPEB.
Yeah.
We
When
got
I- last time
20%
we had
under
a
control.
ratings call, the ratings person from Spanish, like, it's, you guys, you need to do more. I'm like, yeah. He goes, but don't get me wrong, you guys are ahead of a lot of communities.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's been a proactive approach. It may be, the old saying, it may be $1 or $2, $100,000, but there's something going in every year that is a good sign to anybody we're borrowing from.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
Well, I think, I don't know if it was Sarah or who it was that, was behind the recommendation to
Yes, she
begin
was.
transferring free cash. That's the only way we've been able to do significant.
Yeah,
So I'm just surprised though, if that's the case with Chicopee, that the state hasn't been on them a lot more.
honestly, from what I understand, and I don't know the ins and outs, but I think it's up to individual communities. They know they have to fund it
Yeah.
at some point. Some, and a lot of times it's just tough times. It's you have to fund your services today.
yeah.
So you.
I assume as the Fed keeps raising rates, the only, one of the pluses to that is that the calculation of how much what we have in our kitty will grow, will actually increase, so it should like continue to cut off or cut down the amount of the growth of our unfunded
And also
liability.
we have, where we have the money invested, they do a nice job.
Yeah.
Like last year, even when the rates weren't good, I think OPEB went up over $3 million.
Yeah.
And even the ratings guys go, tell me how. I was like, we invested,
Yeah.
but we do it by the law and conservatively too. So it just was a good time for us,
So Steve, you're willing to update this? I'll send you the.
Yeah, if you can send me the
thing
file.
so you can manipulate it, that would be wonderful.
I'll have it
'Cause
for your next meeting.
I've always found this a good one to kind of go
Yeah.
over with at our presentation. And I just wanted to, because we are getting a little close, I pulled out what our presentation was last year, just to, I didn't make copies, there's just too many pages.
Right.
And obviously a cover
Yeah.
letter, a table of contents, but what we had was pretty much the sources and uses, and which is pretty much coming from Steve and Mary's spreadsheet. And the only thing we would do is add columns for, the Financial Oversight Committee's recommendations. Now, it's pretty simple this year because there's very little in the way of recommendation. I'm not even sure it's worth all those columns, to be quite honest. But that is our first sheet, because right now, unless we do anything differently, the only change we're recommending is the school committee stipend.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we've gone right to the town uses. And again, the only thing we do is add the columns in case we had any differences
Yeah.
and comments where we did have
I'm
differences.
wondering if we have to go through all that.
Well, I know, that's what I'm wondering too.
Yeah.
It may be that we just speak, if it turns out that all we're gonna change is one budget, then it might not need all this additional stuff.
Maybe just a narrative, a written narrative to begin.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if,
The council has this
As
already.
yes,
Yeah,
the Mary's
that's
budget,
it.
yes.
and
And they have the new piece that I'm working on, with Steve's numbers
Yeah,
now,
the adjusted
and the manager's message.
yeah,
So, it's, you
Yeah.
could refer to that.
if we had a copy of Mary's final, maybe in order to not kill too many trees and go through all that, maybe it would just be to make a comment to that effect, that we would be in agreement with the town manager's budget as
Right,
presented,
and then-
only with the exception of,
Right, and show
And then-
the adjustment for that one.
yeah, and then you could, if Steve is
Go over
willing
that.
to do this up, we'll present it as our,
So the only other thing we usually include is our recommendations regarding the capital projects. So.
yeah.
Yeah, they need to see that, but.
Have they seen that? Oh, that's part of,
That's in the
It's-
capital
that's-
plan.
It's,
It's in
yeah,
the
they
packet.
should have. I don't know if they've looked at it, but
But, because there again, I don't know, we've
Yes.
kind of like shown every
This is
single one
what
of them. Yeah.
every one of us got, and it's in there.
Right, you're
Okay,
there.
all right. So right now, I believe our committee didn't recommend any changes from what was recommended by the, now in terms of funding,
Well, the funding, it's not part of the budget right now. Mary's submission doesn't have it on there, with the understanding there'd be ARPA use of our funds.
oh, yes, that's right,
It's
that's
part of
right,
She
yeah.
took that out of, she
Yeah.
took the capital projects right
Yeah,
out of the
gotcha.
budget.
So, and that's assuming that the capital, the community preservation agrees to fund
Fund heritage.
or,
That's,
because I was never sure how
Yeah,
much,
it's
you
kind of-
always used to
it's
say,
kind of
and
a,
some free cash.
it's kind of a fluid thing. The rest, the balance of the ARPA, roughly 2.3, I believe,
Right.
will be used for it. The balance of what's left of the 2.9, of which Heritage Park is part of it, we're hoping that CPC will fund the
Some of it.
495, some or all of the 495. And that's why it's fluid, because if they say we'll fund half,
Right.
we'll do it. If they fund all of it, it's less money.
So when you update this,
I will,
you'll, if there's something that
Take that
needs to
into
come out,
account.
all right.
yeah.
And so let's say they pick a number that's less than what you were hopeful of, the balance will come from free cash,
From
a
free cash.
recommendation from free
And-
cash.
Okay,
What I've talked to ours today too, they, to do that, we would vote before June 30th. The
Right.
council would vote to put X dollars, and we put it in with the balance sheet item that says, reserve for future expenditures.
Right.
So because after June 30th,
After,
we can't vote.
it freezes up again till it's certified.
yes.
You go into
Oh, I
that little
know.
dark hole.
Yeah, you know it
Have
very
money
well.
to- Yeah.
You go into limbo, yeah. Your assets are frozen.
Yeah,
That's a question, to use your expression, the cliff. We were just talking about money coming back to the town from the various departments. Can that money be, oh, you already said no?
Well, it goes into the general
Yeah,
fund.
but you
and
can't
it
say-
becomes
It goes to
whatever
Schedule
certified.
A.
Yeah.
Part of the reason you can't spend the free cash after June 30th
Yeah.
is as they go through the turnbacks and everything, it's part of the free cash calculation for FY '22.
The next year.
Yeah.
So in January, so, that timeframe generally, after they certify it, it's all rolled over. Any free cash not used, roll over into next year.
That's why last year, there was some discussion about, we know we're gonna turn back X thousand
$400,000, why
dollars.
can't you just let us, yeah.
It just doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah,
you
Because-
can't cream.
it doesn't work
One
that way.
gets encumbered and one gets returned in 2 different years.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, it's the certification project,
Yeah.
the process by the Department of Revenue. They look at your books, poor Steve has to fill out the Schedule A, which is horrendous.
Is that recapitulation?
No,
That's-
that's the
that's
tax
another
rate,
whole-
that's another whole
whole
thing.
Monkey
And
on
he
your
has
back.
to go through everything that
And we
has
submit our
funds.
balance sheets. The state goes a pretty good intrusiveness into it, if you will. And like with towards the encumbrances, if you know you're getting a bill in September,
Yeah,
we can encumber the money because of the expense of '22. And then that is pulled down from what's turned back. So if you have $100,000 left over your budget and you have 20,000 in an encumbered bill, you would see 80 grand.
yeah.
And then that would flow down to the free cash.
So the last part we had always included, but they're really not really necessary. It was more like almost addendums, was the revenue, the recommendations on sources, but the sources, we already cover it with the sources and uses, so, I don't think we need it. And the other one was the detail on the local receipts.
they need
I don't
that
think we
either.
need it this time either, so
No.
it's,
Cut your
Yeah.
thing down by 4 or 5 pages.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm wondering, is it possible for us to get a copy of what was submitted, just
Yeah.
so we know what they have and we can kind of,
Yeah,
We're doing another one for the next meeting,
For-
for the May
yeah.
one, so we'll have that. We can get that.
So this is gonna get changed again?
No, just I think that's the one, but
but if
there's
you
one
if we
in
can get an
is that
electronic,
gonna be
Right,
this
yeah.
this
I'll
coming
check
Tuesday?
tomorrow.
because then I'll
The-
use that to figure out
Her
how
budget.
we play
Well,
off
we got an
it.
email the other day, come pick it up,
Oh,
right? Didn't I?
Sure.
Or did I pick it up because she said it's ready?
yeah,
I'm seeing it ahead of them, but
Yeah.
I just picked it up, yeah.
yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah,
that's,
because we don't get involved in the revolving funds, we don't get involved in the enterprise
Right.
funds.
we've reviewed them in the past to
We've
to make
reviewed
sure that they're reasonable, that the revenues and the expenses are reasonable, that they're not built up,
Too
you
much,
know,
right.
too much. But I didn't see anything
I don't see any
unreasonable.
red flags.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a new bulletin that came out yesterday from DLS about
Yes.
all these
Mhm.
different. I do
Yeah.
want to comment on the fact that Mary told us last week, oh, this would be under new business, be quiet, Chris.
So
Okay,
I
I
think we're
guess-
at a number 8.
I think so.
Mary
Well,
just
I think they
texted
just,
Including these folks?
Yeah.
Chris and Jim, other people. Mary just texted me that, you know, you got a copy of.
Oh, great,
But
great. Well,
okay, so the needs for our next meeting, since we've determined today that we really don't need to meet with any other department heads.
yeah, I think we have one clarification on the position that was
Position,
transferred
yeah, right.
between school and
Right.
IT. And then we have any questions that Dawn
Yeah, we-
wasn't able to bring up today
Yeah.
because she couldn't be here. And hopefully those will be forwarded and we can forward them to the school department so that we can discuss them next meeting.
Do you want to contact, Pam Blair on the school, the transfer of the IT department thing? I thought we had already.
I thought Steve was going to
Steve, oh,
clarify
Steve's
that.
gonna do it, okay,
I had him on the hook for that.
all right.
So just any remaining questions stemming from Dawn's analysis?
Yes.
And, you know, a follow-up on this and then on the IT position. And then I guess we just kind of review things and maybe agree on what we're going to use for a presentation.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up today, too.
Yeah, it's good. Good thinking, Mr.
I'll
Co-Chair.
try to get this sheet emailed out to you guys as soon as possible. Early in the week, so that you can.
All right, number 10, old business, new business. This is where I say something.
Go ahead, Chris, talk, Chris.
We'd have let you talk
quit,
before,
everybody. Yeah, right. I was very happy to see Mary forward that letter from the Department of Transportation on an additional $327,
Get that.
almost $328,000 to be used for transportation purposes. The projects have to be approved, but would that go to Bruce's department?
Well, Bruce's department runs the project, so they fill out the whole form and the application. Just
Okay.
fill it out today and they send it to the state.
I didn't get this.
State work,
Yeah,
and then they submit a reimbursement, they get reimbursed.
okay.
Okay, I did not
Is
get
it
this
like
letter.
chapter 90 money almost?
That's, yeah.
It's an add-on?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't get the letter, so I want to get the minutes correct. So it's a Mass DOT letter for 327-917. And what's the purpose of that?
It's, the state generally comes out and does, I'm not sure, it's similar to chapter 90 anyways, but.
Chapter 90?
I know
yeah.
when they do their
It's
supplemental
additional
budget.
money for chapter
Chapter 90,
90
thank you.
road work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Well, just the news just keeps getting better.
I know.
Like that.
It's nice to, it's
Yeah.
going to be very interesting to see what the final conference committee comes out with for a budget. Because the state's coffers are
There's a lot of
pretty
push.
well filled at this point in time. How generous are they going to be? Are they going to change local aid? Are they going to change chapter 78? What are they going to do? If it's in the plus, we'll take everything they want to give.
I know in the paper I read somewhere that you get more like the unrestricted, but they don't think that'll happen. But
No.
They want to push chapter 90 up to, it's 200, they
I
want
just
it at 300.
Forwarded it.
Thank you.
Okay,
So but you're right, who knows? It'll change. Yes, we all know 10 different ways to Tuesday before we get to the final.
yeah, oh, yeah. Our budget will be approved by that time.
Back to a point that Pam Blair was trying to explain to us, or she wasn't trying, she did explain. The piece in the House budget around moving the $30 per student up
Yeah.
to
They
60.
don't-
Well, they're touting that as a key feature, but then come to find out, she makes an innocent inquiry and there's a convoluted, you know,
Formula.
it's like a, a second agenda, and certain towns like us are not gonna get that, so
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that, A, we can't,
Yeah,
and B, it's a public relations piece that is misrepresented.
Yeah,
Because if
exactly.
you were a teacher in any district and you read that, you would think naturally, I don't know how it's gonna affect me, teacher in, room 400, but I know that that's good news for my school department.
yeah,
And it may not be.
yeah. And, when I had thought they were gonna get another $72,000, I thought, well,
One
so that's, a real plus. But then when Pam said that, I said, oh, there isn't any more money coming to East Long Meadow for educational aid. It was rather deceptive. I think it's rather discriminatory, to tell you the truth.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I see what
Yeah.
angle you're taking, yes.
Yeah, because is that money going to go to urban schools?
Oh, yeah.
Is it going to go to charter schools? Where is
Mm.
that
Well,
extra
it'll be
$30?
interesting to, you can't do it till it's after the fact, but to figure out who are the towns such as East Long Meadow who don't benefit from that bumped up rate.
Yeah.
And then you can make, I'm sure some advocacy.
You could
group
make
will
some
do it.
inferences.
The MTA will do it, I'm sure.
Look at like Westfield. They said they approved the school budget by reducing it $500,000. Reducing it $500,000. I said, oh my word.
Yeah. And that point you made, Kathy, I also think, am I correct? Didn't they show us that our social economic is 27?
24.7%
Yeah, low income.
in low income.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we don't qualify?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's almost 25%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's scary to think if we're that way,
Yeah.
what are other towns and
Yeah.
cities?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we know where the urban centers are, and
Yeah.
they already benefit from, and rightly so, universal meals for lunch
Right.
and breakfast. But there's plenty of East Long Meadows out there
Yeah.
with similar demographics and growing.
Yes. Yeah. I think of towns like Belchertown, South Hadley, were very similar to us.
Right.
And perhaps they don't qualify.
No, I bet you they won't. And
Yeah.
that's an
They better-
interesting piece.
They better not if we don't.
We'll send Rich after them. Anyway, if we've conducted all business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Rich,
Yes.
Kathy, Jim,
Yes.
Chris is a yes.